Welcome to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers with Linda Prio. Will it be possible to remain in my home as I age? Do I feel safe in my home? How do I figure out how much support I will need when my health needs start to change? What if I decide to move into a community instead? Which community will meet my needs now and in the future? Who will play a role in helping me with decision making? Do you ask yourself these same questions? Aging in Place Strategies and Answers can help you gain practical knowledge that will help you create your own Aging in Place roadmap. If you are already a care partner, a power of attorney, or in crisis mode with your Aging in Place strategy, you will learn what you need to know that you don't know. For over 20 years, I have been marketing Aging in Place services to clients and educating families and healthcare professionals in how to put aging in place strategies into place. When you utilize aging in place, you are allowed to choose where you want to live and make those decisions so that you can retain your quality of life. Welcome to part 2 of my conversation with Carrie Craven from the Household Helpline in St. Louis, Missouri, a company that works with seniors and helps with organizing, minimizing, and also selecting items to go to either the right size home or to a senior community. But as we learned in part 1, there's a lot of things you need to know when you're working with a senior client who is facing a move. There are ways to approach the subject. There are ways to work with the senior and then to make sure that they know where their items are so that we're not adding to the frustration of moving. So thanks for joining me again, and here we go. But first, a word from our sponsor.
The Neptune Society is the oldest and largest cremation service in the United States. For over 50 years, the Neptune Society has been proud to provide signature service to the families they've served. With a prearranged funeral plan, you can declare what you want done at the time of your passing, pay for it in advance, and not leave your survivors with the cost of your final arrangements. Call 314-266-2898. That's 314-266-2898.
We know that adult children, like myself, are well-intended, but sometimes we can push a little too much or say things that might be a little hurtful. So I'm sure you have a wealth of knowledge in that after all these moves, after all those years. So help us through this. Those challenges, we've talked a little bit about it, but also how you really help them along through that. How about that?
Yeah, so a lot of times with seniors, as people age, they think, and this I hear a lot of times too, they had the best of intentions. They were going to go through everything. And
yes,
the one thing that I have not gone to one where I go in and just do a consultation where they haven't apologized. And I'm like,
yes,
don't apologize. They apologize that they didn't pack up more, or that they didn't clean out their drawers enough, or that there's dishes, they have too many sets of dishes. Or another thing that we have to do in the process of packing is if something is broken or chipped, we have to point that out to them. Just because we have to cover ourselves and we write on the paper and we say that this was broken prior to it being wrapped, so that on the other side, we're not responsible if, that it was broken before we packed it.
yes.
And usually what happens is then they go into the whole story of, oh my gosh, that was my mother's and it's so old and I knew that was chipped, but I just can't get myself to get rid of it and everything like that. But so many people apologize, and it shouldn't be that way. This is your home and these are your things, and we're coming in. We always say we are a no judgment zone.
I like that.
Yes, we don't judge. We come in, we meet you where you're at. And I always tell the senior, you're the person in charge. You're my boss, and you're going to tell me what you want done, how you want it done. I'm going to guide you and give you recommendations, maybe, but ultimately, this is your home. I'm coming into your home, and the ladies that work with me are coming into your home. And that's another thing. If I can go back to
Sure.
something to ask about a company, all the people on my crew are women. And not that men don't do a great, can't do this job, but we take the time to make sure everything is packed well. We don't pack things dirty. We clean them up first. Like we take pride in their things as though they're ours, or we look at them as though these could be our parents. And we don't want our parents mess from their old house or dust going into their new house. We want a fresh new start. And literally, there's companies that we've heard stories that if there's trash in the trash can, they pack the trash and they take the trash.
I've heard that before myself. Yes.
We clean everything. We pack everything. We make sure it's clean. We truly do. We take a personal interest in it as though it's our own. And so I don't want people to feel that they have to apologize when we go into their home. It's going to continue to happen. Everybody does it. But part of the reasons that they apologize is because physically they have limitations.
Yes.
They don't have the endurance. They can't lift. They can't bend. They can't reach high things up on top of shelves.
Yes.
The last thing I want people to do is climb on a step stool or a chair or something. We'll move people and they'll say, oh, I need my step ladder. And I'm like, no, you don't. You're moving to a senior community. If you need something up on the top shelf, you call somebody and they'll come in and get it for you. But I'm not taking your step stool with you. You shouldn't be going on that. I kind of, my background also steps in to be protective, and I don't want to see anyone get hurt. So they tire quickly. In the process, sometimes I'll go in a downsizing situation and will only work for 3 or 4 hours because they're exhausted from having to make decisions.
Yes.
It's very emotionally stressful, physically stressful and draining. And so it's just going at a pace. Now, sometimes we do have to hurry it up, and that's where we give them permission, think it over. We'll set something aside if they really aren't sure about something.
Yes.
And we can take it there and decide later. We don't want to get hung up on those little things. There's also the emotional stress. It's very emotional to downsize and have to, leave things behind. And another thing, I've said this is we really encourage to take pictures of your things. One thing that I find is people keep trophies and awards and pieces of paper that they've gotten through the years, and they're in boxes in their basement. So I always say to them, it's serving you no purpose except that they're in a box in the basement. Yeah. Let's take a picture of it. We'll have it developed and put into a book. We'll create a book of the things that were meaningful to you, and you take that with you. Then you can put it on your coffee table and you can look at it all the time and remember those things versus bringing them with you because they're in a box. And then, and we talk about what those things are. And we will reach out to the children and the grandchildren and say, is anybody here? Some things that are sentimental. Sometimes it's hard for me to see them give up things that I kind of want them to hang on to because I think it is important. It's history sometimes.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, I don't want it. But I'll encourage them to take it. And there's the cognitive overload of moving to a new place and just knowing where things are. Post-it notes are our friends. A lot of times after we've moved someone in and we put everything away, we will put Post-it notes on the kitchen drawers to say your silverware is here, your baggies are in this drawer.
I love it.
So they have a better so they know where things are when they first move in and they start to become familiar. As I said, with their furniture and drawers, if we take things out, we put them in the same drawers that they came out of. If we can, not every move is exactly the same, but if they're
Correct.
taking and they're going to be using their furniture. Now, sometimes their master bedroom set isn't going to fit in their new master bedroom, so they're going to take the guest room furniture and put that into the master.
Yes.
And so we still try to set it up as similar as we can so that they have that familiarity and comfort level once they get moved in. There's the safety concern that I talked about before about just the clutter and making sure that pathways are cleared and that it's safe for them to be at. And then the other part that can be challenging is just that loss of routine and familiarity, is that they are moving to a new place and their routine is going to be a little bit different. But reminding them, and this is where my background of having been in moving, marketing and sales and helping people move in, is reminding them that you still have a say. You're not moving in for them to tell you what to do. If you want to sleep in, if you don't want to go to breakfast, whatever, you speak up and let them know you still have your rights, your dignity, and I advocate for them, and I teach them sometimes how to advocate for themselves. A lot of people have a hard time doing that.
Yes, yes. Well, it sounds like it's very inclusive. And I was thinking when you were talking, I've heard stories of people who have moved multiple times and still have things in boxes that they've never used.
They never unpack.
So, adult children, if this is you, then you know what it's like. And maybe you have some clutter in your own lives that you can take some tips from Carrie to also clear out. I know some people have big, have you ever had a situation where there's also been storage units someplace?
So I actually had a situation where I had to go to an assisted living community for a woman whose apartment she did not have clear pathways to safety.
Yes.
And she was going to be either evicted or they were going to come in and she had signs on her door, do not come in, housekeeping, don't come in, and all this. Well, for safety and for state regulations, you have to abide by things. So I was asked to come in and help her to sort through things. And it wasn't a move, it was just to declutter her apartment and things. So I went in, I worked with her. I packed up boxes that I then took to her storage unit.
All right.
And when I got to the storage unit, it was very neatly organized of more of everything I packed up. So, and why she hung on to it, I don't know.
We don't know.
But yeah, but it was all the same things that she already had. And I was just taking more of it because that's what she accumulates. And everybody accumulates something.
Oh, yes. I have my little things that I like. If you,
yeah, and right.
And we all have our things.
Right. But it's funny because in every job that we do, we have this little game that we play that we kind of amongst us that what's the one thing that we're going to tell this client not to buy anymore? Usually it's Jello. Jello. It is Kleenex and paper products. It is sprays, Pam, and all the olive oils and stuff. Multiple bottles, and even the oils, spices. What happens with spices in kitchens is everybody kind of buys new and they put them in the front and everything else gets moved to the back. So we also play that, game of what's the oldest item in the kitchen that we can find. So we always look at it too, that we are really providing a service of getting their cabinets cleaned out, getting things organized, getting rid of the expired foods. And it's not just spices. Sometimes it's mixes and flour and
canned goods and things.
Canned goods, exactly.
Yes.
We'll let things go depending on what it is. We'll go a year past, but there's things we find that are older. So people really feel good too, knowing that, wow, now I've purged all that and everything in my place is now clean and organized. And we help with the women, especially when they have to downsize and move their kitchen. We remind them that they're not throwing big dinner parties anymore, and they don't need 5 of the large Pyrex casserole dishes, and they don't need all the big mixing bowls and measuring cups and measuring spoons. Like 1 or 2 sets of each is more than enough.
Yes.
So, it's just, I always refer to it as thinning the herd. We thin things out. And also when we go to put things away, we look at it as prime real estate of what is used the most gets put put low and where you're going to reach it, and those items that you felt you needed to take with you, but you really aren't going to use that much, we put up higher.
You
So
know, just hearing you talk, of course, I can see your passion and your love for what you do, and the positive effects is what I'm really picking up on, because when the herd is thinned and you
then the
really have the essentials, I that is a liberating feeling, actually. I went to an organizing party probably 20 plus years ago, and I said, "Well, you've organized everything that I have already organized, but so I can't figure out what I need next. But I have one drawer that has all this stuff in it." And she said, "Well, how many of the same stuff do you have in that drawer?" And I thought, well, I don't know.
yeah,
So guess who goes home that evening, and she looks in her drawer, and I have three of the same kind of spatula. I have too many strainers. I have three sets of measuring cups. And you know what?
exactly.
My drawer is still organized to this day because I listened to what she said and said to myself, Linda Prio, how many of these similar items do you need? And
Right.
so I was able to thin that. And I'm going to tell you, I keep it pretty lean and mean. Of course, you know
Yeah.
that people like to bring you things, but then sometimes I have to purge that. And I'm
Right.
going to brag on Carrie and her team because in our senior industry, as we meet all kinds of people, sometimes we do get into a situation where people are accumulators. And some people call that hoarding. And there's an emotional component to this that is very difficult to work with. But I will give Carrie a shout out because I know the people on her team, and I know they really work well in these environments where a lot of people cannot take that kind of client on. So just something to know, that might be another good question if you know that the person that you're working with, that your
Right.
friend, loved one,
Right.
whoever it is, has this accumulating in their background, and it might be harder to help them to disassociate from their items.
And sometimes they have the best of intentions
Oh,
that they're going to move
yes.
and stay that way, but then they don't. Or the one thing that I always have to remind them sometimes, because some people get upset with me because I can't get it cleaned up and organized. And I said, we're not magicians. We can't create more space where there's not, and we can't find places for this amount of thing. You just have excessive amounts. And, they'll get upset with us, but I'm like, let other people enjoy these things. You can't wear all the clothes that you have, or you can't, you've got so much. There's other people with less. Let them have it. Other people don't have 4 shirts and you've got 40. Let's t-shirts alone, and let's keep like maybe one of every type of t-shirt, but you don't need, you know, 20 of one kind. So it's helping people to recognize it. And a lot of times we are successful. One of the girls that works with me, when we do closets, she worked retail and she's meticulous with how she does closets. And a lot of the men, after she puts all their things away, they'll say they're not going to wear any of those clothes because they don't want to mess anything up. They
Because
just
it
want it.
looks so good.
Yes. Yeah.
What a
So,
great feeling to know what you have and to enjoy what you have and to be able to really appreciate it. Uh, I kind of learned this in my life, that less is best, and that when I do purge and I have, then I can see what I actually really have, even when it comes to clothes, and then I wear them. I
yeah.
have some great second and third choices. So
Right.
that's very helpful. And that's what we want to project today. Not only that a professional can get you started, and there are wonderful companies like Carrie's out there that can help in this, but also there's a lot of positive benefits that come from these transitions. So families, friends, adult children, other people that are giving advice. All right, because you're coming at it from you've been a daughter, right,
Right.
to a mother, and I've
Mhm.
been a daughter to a mother, and my mother let me have free reign, and she's just said, "You do it." well, that was a lot of responsibility for me, but I felt like it was my gift to her because it made it easier for her. And I could do it. But
Mhm.
you have some great advice to give to families, friends, adult children, others who are trying to help their loved ones get to the next step as their health needs have started to change, or their financial picture has started to change, or where they're living is not now the best place for them to live.
Right.
Uh, help us through that. What kind of advice would you give if I was still trying to help my mom move? She put her feet in the sand, and I was saying things that may were hard.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is start with empathy, not with the stuff. Because recognize that it's not about their belongings, but it's
Okay.
about the memories that they have with those possessions. Everything was a memory, especially that older generation. They truly have things that were their grandmothers and their families that's been passed down. So it's identifying and it's empathizing with them. It's not going to be easy. And sometimes what I tell people too is, when you're moving and helping someone downsize and they're really having a hard time of letting things go, it brings them so much joy if they look at one of us and say, "Oh, would you please take this home? I would be so happy if you take it home." What I usually tell them is, I can't take that home. I have a rule, because I can't become a storage warehouse and of everybody else's things. And the other thing is, everybody thinks that my house is so organized because I do it for everybody else. Not. And actually, I had lunch with all my ladies that work with me this last week, and we all decided that the holidays this year, we're going to gift each other 4 hours of our time to go in and help each other do it. Because
What a
when
great
it's your,
idea.
yes, but because when it's your stuff, when it's your
Yes.
possessions, it is so hard because you have those emotional ties and those memories to it, where we can come in and we don't have that emotion tied to it. So we can make more, I don't want to say rational decisions, but we can help talk them through it, because we know. And a lot of times the children of lose their patience with mom or dad, and they're
Yes.
just like, get rid of it. And they
Mhm.
rush, and it really hurts their feelings. Sometimes I will tell people, and I did this with a friend of mine. I moved his mom, and I said, tell her that you want your dad's ties. I went through her closet and realized that there were still her husband's belongings in there, that he'd been deceased for over 5 years, and she had all of his ties and a couple pair of shoes and some things. And I said, tell her you want your dad's ties. And he's like, I
What?
don't want his ties. And I
Mm.
said, just take them. She was so, that was an emotional thing to her, that he wanted those ties. And she even said, why do you want them? He goes, well, because when I go into a business meeting, I want to know that I took, the dad's with me in that meeting if I needed him there that day. And so I'll say that to people. I'll say, just take it. It'll make mom happy. If you don't want to take it home, don't take it home, but let her think you care, and let her think that you want it. And so that helps a lot of people, but just being empathetic to them. My other part of advice is start early and go slow.
Yes.
Don't wait till it's that emergency. If your parents, if you're listening, because it's your parents that you're worried about, start now with the thought, the suggestion of thinking about downsizing. I had a woman call me just this last week. Her mom's been in their home for over 40 years, and she is on the wait list now at a senior living community, independent living. But she's going from a 3-bedroom house to a 1-bedroom apartment. And they want me to come in now, especially during the winter. This is the time when I get more calls for organizing or downsizing than I do for actually packing. Because
Okay.
this people, summer's over, the running around, the vacations and stuff are down. Now they're settling in again for the fall and winter,
Yes.
and they have more time at home, and they want to start going through things. So we start one room at a time, one drawer at a time, and we go, and a lot of times they'll do it, but this is where that apologizing comes in. I'm so sorry. I've been meaning to go through this, or I should have done this. And we give them permission. It's okay. You're not alone. We've seen worse. Every situation we go into, we can truly say we've seen worse. So, and sometimes I show them pictures. I don't say where they're from, but I just recently went into a younger girl's house, and she's like, oh, I'm so unorganized and it's so cluttered. And I walked in and the house is beautiful and it's clean. She goes, don't open the cabinets. That's where the clutter was. So we went in and took everything out. She sorted through what she realized she didn't need anymore. And we put it all back, but we put it back together what made sense. If the coffee pot is here, we put the coffee stuff right above it instead of halfway down the kitchen counter.
Yes.
And we got videos and calls after that. Thank you so much for just helping us get organized. So we can go in ahead of time. We begin early with our seniors and we go slow. It's exhausting. It truly is. The other thing is to focus on that new space and not what they're giving up.
Okay,
So
that's a very important thing.
And how much space you're really going to have. That's where that kitchen part comes in. You're going to a small apartment. You're not going to have a big kitchen like you have now. You're maybe going to have 3 drawers depending on the community. So let's look at what you really need. A lot of times I'll tell them, let's get you a crock to put on your stovetop to put all your mixers and big spoons and spatulas in, because you're not going to have a drawer just for that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or you don't need to take 12 dishes anymore. Maybe let's take 6, because if it's just you alone, or if it's a couple, let's take 8. But really, you're not throwing dinner parties. You know you're going to go to the dining room to eat. And just that they don't need all that stuff. Even their silverware, they may have a complete set, but in reality, do they have to take all of it with them? No.
Yes.
So, because it's not all going to fit. So it's just helping them focus on their new space of what will fit, what will fit well. And the same thing, if they really want to take it, I'm not going to say no. I wouldn't. If they want to take 5 mixing bowls and get there and see that they're not going to fit in the cabinet, then sometimes that's what it takes is for a visual for them to really see. I moved a gentleman to the Gatesworth. He insisted on taking a bunch of kitchen stuff. And about 3 weeks later, he called me back and he's like, can you come back and get rid of a lot of the stuff I brought that I realized now I didn't need? And then he was he really minimized everything. And I was then saying, no, you need to keep this. You need to keep this, because he wanted to just get rid of everything. So I do, between my knowledge of working in those communities and stuff, I do have a good idea of what they truly need, what they don't need, and just helping them through that process.
And that's what Polly and I talked about it when we did our YouTube channel too, is that getting started helps you to all of a sudden want to do more. And you just validated that whole feeling with your gentleman who then called you and said, no, this is way too much to bring. I need to pare down again. And because he saw the benefit of being able to find his things, know what's useful to him, and then to be able to let go of the other things because he did it.
Right.
Yay,
And once they get started,
that.
exactly. And they see that they do it, and we do praise them along the way. We tell them, we acknowledge this is hard. This is exhausting. This takes a lot out of you, but you're doing a really good job. I'm really proud of you. Your kids are proud of you. And I was telling you earlier that there's a cartoon that I have on my Facebook page, and it's of a father and a son, and he's got his arm around his son, and they're standing in front of a garage that is packed full to the front, back, everywhere, not an inch of clutter everywhere, just stuff. And he says, and son, one day all of this will be yours. And this, and it's the truth. Kids today, unfortunately, don't want a lot of the things that mom or dad had. It's much more of a minimalistic society now. It's not about the things, it's about the experiences. And so and that's where I help too, is that the last place that I ever want to see things go is into a trash or a dumpster or anything.
Yes.
So I even have people who will sell their homes to an as-is buyer, meaning that they can leave everything behind and that person's just going to clean it out. They will still hire me to come in to do their clean out because they want me to take the things and donate them, or maybe they have a collection of something that has value. It doesn't necessarily have the value they think. And, I do help them. Sometimes they have furniture to sell, and I'll say, you think it's worth a lot, and I understand that. I can get it sold for you, but no one's going to see the value in it like you do. And so as long as you understand that going into it, I'll be happy to either donate it or find someone to sell it. But you're not going to, unless it's a rare antique or something like that, you're just not going to get for it what you truly feel it's worth. And I dealt with that with my own parents, and that was really hard. My dad's like, "Oh my God, we paid so much for this dining room set." And I was just like, I know, but nobody wants the big buffet hutches anymore and the big servers. And, we couldn't even find anywhere to take it. That's the other
Yes,
problem.
that's the other problem. I know it all exists.
Even donating it, people don't want them. Pianos, that's another item that if you
Yes.
have, so hard to find homes for today. We do find homes, but it's tough. It really is. So yeah,
And
that's our
you
goal.
and you have a lot of resources that you can use that we won't even know about because you're in the
Right.
business. And when you're in a business like this, you learn resources that can help you when you need those solutions. And if you haven't heard Carrie's passion today about what she does, then you have not been listening. But I also can see that she's really worked hard to differentiate her business in the marketplace as a solution, a caring, empathetic solution that helps someone get started organizing or packing or thinking about next steps. And I started my podcast with Aging in Place because most people want to stay home for as long as possible, but home can be a community or it can be a right size home. So if you're struggling like I do, I was telling Polly, I said, I think I'm about downsizing probably once a week. But then that's all I do is think about it. I'm not in a bad situation. I don't have to make too many decisions lately. And I gave away something and my kids are like, "Why'd you give that away? That was so silly. We want that," or we wanted to argue about it, or
Yeah.
it had more emotional attachment than I did. So then I got the talk about, "Hey, before you get rid of something, would you just ask us?" Okay. But then I
Yeah.
told them, I said, "You have a box with your name on it in my basement." And they're like, "I don't
Yeah.
think I want the box." And I go, "Oh, you're getting the box. You're getting that
Yeah.
box."
Yeah. No,
So,
there's a lot of those things. And what I like is when people hang on to stuff. I had a move recently of a couple, they were downsizing because their girls were all pretty much out of college now and moving on. And the mom had one of the file boxes. She had three daughters for every year that they were in school, and she would allow them to save all the papers and everything from per year. So she had 12 boxes times three children. So the husband was like, "Just get rid of them." And the girls were like, "We don't want them. We don't even want them." And the mom, it just broke her heart that she had spent all this time and taken care of all these things. And they literally moved. They had someone go into the new house and build shelves in the back part of the basement to put these file boxes on because she was taking them with her,
yeah.
even though they didn't want them. But, everybody does their own thing. And if someone is really insistent that something has to go with them and you don't see the logic or the reasoning in it, just appease them and let them take it.
Let them take it. It's their life. And I love
Right.
what you said at the beginning is uh, you're my boss. You know,
You're my boss.
we're working at this together, but you are the decision maker. And whenever we empower people to do what they need to do, but we're coming alongside, it's always going to be a successful situation. Carrie, how do people get a hold of you?
So you call me directly. My number's 314-712-4630.
All
I
right.
I don't do the website more than 95% of my business is word of mouth and referrals. So I
Okay.
don't look at the website. I can give you numbers. I can give you people to talk to that will rave about the services and that people need to do it, but you talk to me when you hire me or you hire Household Helpline, you're getting me. You're not getting other people. I have people that come with me, but I'm going to be the number one person, that's going to always be there. And so, but they can just call me. If you get my recording, I will call you back the same day.
Well, that is honest, and that is going to be in the show notes so that you can have that, because I know you're going to want to talk to Carrie. Carrie, you've been a caregiver. I've been a caregiver. My part of what I do on aging in place strategies and answers is to support the caregivers, because it's a blessing to be a caregiver, but it is also hard to be a caregiver. And not all of us appreciate that responsibility, but we're in it and we need to win it. Okay, so do you have a tip from either your business or your personal life for a caregiver today?
Just personally, what I always tell people is when people offer to help, take them up on it. I always tried to be everything.
Yes.
And you can't be everything. And you can't be the best you if you are exhausted and tired and trying to do everything. You are that saying, you're only human. You can only do so much. So when other people offer, you'll be a better person. And it allows you to be like when I allowed caregivers to come in when I could no longer necessarily do it, I got to become the daughter again instead of the caregiver. But when I needed to be the caregiver, I was there. But when people offered to come and sit or to bring a dish by or do something, I graciously accepted it because I was becoming a short order cook. I was becoming a cleaning person. The caretaker, the bather, doing everything.
Yes.
And I was exhausted and working full time,
Yes.
for a while there.
Yes.
So, just is accept the help when people offer it, accept it. And if you need help, there's always a resource out there.
Mhm.
If you're feeling overwhelmed, to reach out to someone, to your religious, your church, your temple, wherever, for help, because there are people out there that will always help.
Yes, I
Yep.
love that word of advice. That is wonderful. Carrie, I can't thank you enough for being with me today. And I know that my listeners are going to love hearing your tips. And I really do think that you've helped us learn a better way to approach the situation when we are in those roles where we have to move things along and we bring our business minds with us because we're working in the world and we know efficiency. But then when it comes to our aging parents, sometimes it's the skids get put on and we
Right.
feel that, and it's really hard, but just know that we're professionals and we also know to work in crisis mode too. But preparation is king in everything. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Carrie or to myself. And again, thank you for being with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me today. Please remember that this podcast is intended as education and not advice. Don't forget to share this podcast with family, friends, or colleagues who want to learn how to age in place, but also share this with those who find themselves in crisis mode. Please go to my website, seniorsupportstrategies.com, for more information. When you subscribe to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers, you gain access to premium content and professional tips on creating your own Aging in Place roadmap. As always, I value the time you spend with me.